And let's just say the very next day, I noticed how things were starting to move around in my life. It was literally like things had been set in motion, and I was shook. Hey friends, it's your girl Tiff, and you're listening to That's Real, a podcast where we learn and discover more about ourselves through stories, life lessons, experiences. So if you hear something that resonates with you and makes you say, that's real, please share with a friend, family member on Instagram and tag me at It's Tiffanie Davis. And also you can listen or watch this podcast, so it is available on my YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, you can show me some love by leaving a 5-star rating and review. I am so happy that you're here. Thanks so much for tuning in, and let's dive into this episode. Hey friends, hey, and welcome back to the podcast. I didn't really prepare anything for today. I figured we'd just chit chat a little bit. And honestly, I think it's because, I don't know, let me know if you guys are feeling this too. But for some reason, the energy right now just feels really off. I don't know. And I've been feeling it for the majority of this week. For me, it all started on December 12th. So 12/12, which 12/12. And I don't know if you guys follow, like, you guys know how I'm really into this, like, woo-woo, like angel numbers, portals, all of that stuff. You guys know I'm really into that. If you're not into that stuff, then you are probably not going to like this episode, because I have a feeling a lot of that's going to come out in this episode. But 12/12, or at least how it's been presented to me and like what I've seen and read about, has always been the portal for transformation, for new beginnings and whatnot. And it's actually really, really funny because I launched my YouTube channel on 12/12. Not even on purpose. Actually, it's kind of an interesting story. So when I was gearing up to launch my YouTube channel, and this is 4 years ago? Oh my gosh, have I been on YouTube for 4 years? I feel like I've been on YouTube 4 years on and off because I took a little break when I came back from Paris. But anyways, when I was gearing up to launch my YouTube channel, I had really wanted to launch it earlier. I think I wanted to launch it like end of November or like first week in December. But because I'm so like neurotic about these things, I was like, okay, when I launch my YouTube channel, I want my Instagram handle to be the same as my YouTube channel so that it's all like seamless and it all flows and whatnot. And I was trying to update my Instagram name to It's Tiffanie Davis because Tiffanie Davis was taken. And I really didn't want to keep what I currently had on Instagram, which I think at the time I was the Burgundy Blazer. Comment below if you're watching this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment below if you've been following me since my Burgundy Blazer days. And if you are listening to this, please send me a DM. I would love to know how many people have actually followed me since my Burgundy Blazer days. But anyway, sorry, I'm rambling. But anyways, I really wanted to switch my Instagram handle from the Burgundy Blazer to It's Tiffanie Davis. But at the time, and I don't know if Instagram is still like this, but at the time I couldn't change it right away. I had to wait about 2 weeks for the change to actually go into effect. And I was like, this means I can't launch my channel on time and all of this stuff. I was literally having a meltdown about it. And oh my God, it's so funny. I am so ridiculous when it comes to these things. I was working in the luxury beauty industry at the time, and we had to connect with Instagram. We had to connect with Facebook. Like, we had connections with all of these major platforms. And I remember we had gone to the Instagram office for like a meeting or something like that, or like a presentation. And I remember going to one of the Instagram execs and being like, I'm trying to start this YouTube channel and I really want my Instagram to be the same name. Is there any way you can speed up this process? It's telling me it's going to take 2 weeks. And they were very much just like, sorry, girl. Like, it's just kind of how the system works. And I was like, but I was trying everything to speed up this process because I was like, I really just want to launch this when I want to launch it. But I had to wait. God was telling me, you gotta wait. So I waited because I didn't have a choice. And I was so fixated on making sure when I launched this YouTube account that all of my other platforms had the like Tiffanie Davis or It's Tiffanie Davis username. Cause I was like, I don't want people to get confused if they see that my YouTube channel is Tiffanie Davis and then my Instagram is the Burgundy Blazer. Again, I was just so particular about everything being the same. So by the time everything was settled and I got my username from Instagram and whatnot, the date was 12/12. Like the date that everything was going to be ready was 12/12. So I was like, all right, great. I'm going to launch my YouTube channel on 12/12. And I don't know if at the time I knew the significance of 12/12, but when I read up on it, I was literally shook at everything that it said. I'm actually going to look it up and read it to you guys right now. Okay. So I found the website. So it basically says, and it's this article on Refinery 29 where they're talking to this astrologer about the significance of 12/12. And it says, there's something about the energy of the number 12 that screams completion, heralding the end of a cycle only to begin a new one. Every time we see this number appear, it means something is coming to close and that we're approaching a new beginning. Its meaning can correlate to finishing up something in your life so you may prepare to move on to another stage of growth and development. And it's honestly crazy reading this now, knowing like now that I'm on the other side and I know like everything that went down that year because, and sorry, before I even get into that, it also says, according to many mystics, 12/12 is a sacred code that accessed a gateway of enlightenment, which propels change. It helps us raise our frequency as a way to reach higher realms of consciousness. But so basically it was just saying a lot about transformation, change, new beginnings, all of that. So when I found out that that's what that number meant and that I kind of, even though I didn't want to, I ended up having to launch my YouTube channel on 12/12. I was like, whoa, like this is actually kind of crazy. And now, as I said before, like knowing what I know now about that year, I'm a little bit shook because it was also during that time and I was trying to figure out, because I was living in Paris at this time when I launched my YouTube channel. And I was trying to figure out, next steps for myself career-wise too. So I had been working in the luxury beauty industry, but I was on a contract. And the way that contracts work in France is you can either be on a CDD contract or a CDI contract. A CDI contract is honestly what most of the French are on. It's like a very permanent contract, where a CDD contract is a bit more flexible, but you don't have as much security and it can renew every 6 months, but only up to 18 months. So if they do end up extending your contract to the full 18 months, which thank God they did for me, at the end of that 18 months, it's like you have to find another opportunity. It's so interesting. At that time, I was kind of trying to figure out like, will there be other opportunities for me after, my 18 months was up, because my 18 months was going to be up that February. So it's so interesting. Now that I look back on it, it was very much like one door was opening, which was, me kind of launching myself into being a YouTuber and content creator and whatnot. And then another one was closing because, this is so wild. Now that I really think about this is so wild because what ended up happening was the pandemic hit and there was a hiring freeze all over France. So even though I was kind of like in the process of interviewing for a few roles and whatnot, all of that stopped when the pandemic happened. So it was kind of like my corporate career at the time had come to a standstill. And I again launched myself into a personal endeavor. It's so wild that all of that happened and how that number 12/12 was very symbolic of all the things that happened in my life after that. And I say this to say, if you really look carefully at what's happening in your life, and especially as like pivotal moments are happening, you'll see the signs and you'll see the patterns that are pushing you into a certain direction or are trying to give you a heads up on what might be coming. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened. There's actually a story that I really want to share with you guys. I'm not going to share it with you in this episode because I think it'll be too long, but maybe for next week's episode. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's always so cool to me how these signs and synchronicities happen. And the messages that God and your angels will send you about what could be coming next for you in your life. And it's so interesting because this year on 12/12, the energy felt very off. The energy felt very heavy and very sad. And I'm not going to lie, that whole day I was unwell. I did not feel like myself. I was not okay. And I honestly had no idea why. I was just in the biggest funk. Like usually on 12/12, I'm like so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the birthday of my YouTube channel. But this 12/12, I was just kind of like, I'm really not feeling it today. I'm really not. So I started to do a few different things to help me get out of my funk. And I have to say it really did work. So really want to share a few things that I did with you in case, it can help you if you're ever feeling like you're in a rut or feeling down. So a few things that I did, and I will say it really for me ended up becoming like this day of manifestation, this day of kind of like laying out my dream life and all that I want to accomplish in a way. And yes, I did kind of go into like the things that I want, but I also focused on like really feeling those things like really deeply. So first and foremost, I drove to this like really, really nice, beautiful neighborhood in LA that I honestly love. And it's a neighborhood that I actually did my like rebrand photo shoot in. And it's also so crazy because when I was driving up to that neighborhood, when I was when I was just like scouting locations to do that shoot, the house number that I stopped in front of said 333. And 333 is another one of my angel numbers. I told y'all this is going to be a very like woo-woo, a very woo-woo episode. And I was shook. And then as I was backing up, I looked at the car that was parked right outside and on the license plate was 818. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Cause that's another one of my angel numbers. And oh my God, I could really go into depth about these numbers and why they're so significant. Like, I feel like the 818 story I have to save for another day, but the 333 story. So, and I know I'm like going all over in this episode, but I knew that this podcast episode was going to be a little bit of a brain dump, but the number 333. Okay. Listen to how wild this is. So the number 333, I kid you not, has been following me throughout my time in LA. Not because I'm looking for it, not because I'm like wishing to see it to give me confirmation or anything like that. It'll just appear. And when it appears, to me, I see it as confirmation that I'm on the right track. But listen to this story. So I'm going to rewind to last year when I was living in Boston with my parents and trying to figure out, where do I want to move post Paris? Do I want to be in New York? Do I want to be in LA? Like, I wasn't exactly sure where I wanted to be, but I knew that I was getting pushed towards LA for some reason, and I didn't know why. So I finally decided that I want to take a trip to LA for about a month to really figure out, if it's somewhere where I could see myself living, if it's where I really want to live right now. I really wanted to just feel LA out and see if it was a good fit for me. So I booked my Airbnb and I'm just looking around the area. Like, how you can do that on Google Maps, like see the street view and whatnot. I see the sign or something that says 333. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but didn't really think anything of it. So then a few hours later, I go to book my plane ticket to LA and the total comes to $333. And that's when I was like, all right, this is like, what's going on? And then later that day, I'm just like scrolling on YouTube, just looking at my YouTube analytics because I had just done a live stream and was just looking at the performance of that. I got 333 likes, 333 likes on that live stream that day. And then I'm in the car with my mom and I'm telling her this story about this song that has literally been following me since I was living in Paris. And this is actually a story that I need to tell you guys soon. This is a story that I really want to share with you guys like ASAP. It'll be too long for this episode. But I'm talking to my mom about this song and all of that. And she's like, I've never heard the song before. Can you pull it up for me? And I'm like, sure. So I go to YouTube, I pull up the song. Why is this song 3 minutes and 33 seconds long? Okay. This number was everywhere that day. And then I take my trip to LA. I decide I want to move here. I move here earlier this year, all of this stuff, and continue to see this number repeatedly. So it was really crazy when I decided I wanted to do this like rebrand photo shoot and whatnot, just to kind of reestablish myself on social media, that the location that I decided to shoot at, literally right in front of me, literally as I drove up to the street, right in front of me was a house with the number 333. It's like you literally cannot make this stuff up. Again, to me, it was just beautiful confirmation that I'm exactly where I should be right now. And I mean, for you, it could be something totally different. It's like, for me, I know that God and my angels and the universe speak to me through numbers. Like, there have just been so many different instances where I'm like, this just doesn't even, like, how does this happen? How does this happen? But anyways, back to my original story of when it was 12/12 and I was just trying to get out of my funk. So I decided to go to my 333 street, that neighborhood with just beautiful houses and kind of like my manifestation neighborhood. I took a walk around and was listening to this audiobook called The Science of Getting Rich. And it was actually one of you guys that recommended that book to me. I highly recommend that book if you're into just like, or if you're into and if you're ready to kind of manifest the next step in your life and your career or what have you. That's a really, really good book to read. But I was just walking around the neighborhood, listening to this book. And part of what it shares in the book is, when you're trying to get to that next level, it's like you actually have to be able to visualize what it is that you want. But I actually learned from my osteopath that it's not just about, visualization and creating vision boards. It's also about, one, really tapping into the feelings and the qualities of all that you want, and two, being grateful for all that you have right now. So when I got back home, I created my vision board. I did home life, like relationships in terms of dating and friendships. I did travel. I did just like where I see myself going in my career. I put everything on that vision board, and I truly tapped into the feelings of all that I wanted. And let's just say the very next day, I noticed how things were starting to move around in my life. It was literally like things had been set in motion, and I was shook. And I don't know if it just had to do with the fact that it was 12/12, because it was so funny. So on 12/12, I was getting a lot of like messages from my friends and stuff about the 12/12 portal. And one of them in particular said, I'm going to read it to you. It said, the new moon 12/12 portal. It couldn't get any better than this. It's the last new moon of the year, and it falls on the 12/12 portal, ushering in a miraculous twist of fate to turn your dreams into reality. This energetic gateway is aligned with the power of the number 12 in numerology and can connect you to your personal desires. So get your vision board out and start setting clear intentions on what you wish to manifest. This extraordinary event hasn't occurred since 1992. Oh my God, I'm shook. I didn't remember that part. Make way for big breakthroughs and a spectacular development to occur. Oh my God, I'm shook. Wait. This is wild. I remember reading about like the whole like turn your dreams into reality, but I do not remember reading on here about the piece around the vision board and that it hadn't occurred since 1992. Okay, wait, y'all. I'm shook. Not me like processing all of this as I'm sharing it with you. And I think this just kind of goes to show, it's like, even when you're feeling really down, if you can find a way to just like move in the direction of what you feel like your personally energy space is telling you to move into, you will be right on time. Because not me doing that vision board and whatnot after listening to that book and it literally saying in that caption that I just read to you that day was the best day to do all. What? At this point, I don't even know why I keep getting shook. Like, I think that I just need to accept that it's always telling me that I am in alignment of all that I'm creating. Wow. Like, how does that happen? That's actually kind of crazy. But the point of me sharing this with you guys originally was to say, if you ever find yourself in that funk or when your energy is off, do some of those things that you feel like could get you closer to the life that you're trying to create. So like, again, I walked through that neighborhood and was listening to The Science of Getting Rich, and I was just manifesting. And then I came home and did my vision board, and I was starting to feel a lot better. But I will say another thing that I did that night was I just completely surrendered. So I prayed to God and just said, God, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I surrender it all to you. Just tell me what to do. Tell me the direction that I need to move in. And I kid you not, again, the very next day, I saw how things were set in motion. And I don't know, maybe I need to do like an entire episode where I just talk through a few of the different things that I do to kind of remind myself that I am, moving in the right direction. I am on the right track. There's also this one method that my therapist in New York shared with me, and I cannot remember what she titled this journal, but for me, it's so funny. She told me to get a journal, and in that journal, she told me to like put in any quotes that have helped guide me in my life or things that have happened in my life that remind me that I'm on the right track, like these little God winks, if you will. And it's so funny because when I went to go buy like the journal for it, I think I got this from Target, and it's a book that embroidered on the front cover, it says chic happens, kind of like shit happens, but it says chic happens. And I'm like, this literally could not be more perfect. So I have my book, and you know what? I don't even know if I have it with me here in LA. I think I might have left it at my parents' house, but I'm going home for Christmas next week. So I will grab it, and maybe in one of the upcoming episodes, I'll read you guys a bit of what I have in there. But I will say in the past, I really use this journal as a way to kind of like get me out of my funk too. And again, just remind myself that I am okay. I'm just having a moment. This moment is temporary. And look at all of these beautiful messages and beautiful things that have happened in my life that, again, prove that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, or I am headed towards, where I ultimately want to go. And I think just having these tools and having these little activities that you can do when you're feeling down, at least for me, really help to bring me out of that mood. So I do think that there is a lot of power in doing some of these exercises, but at the same time, I think you also just need to figure out what works for you. Like, I'm obviously someone who loves all of this stuff like vision boarding and angel numbers and looking for the signs and whatnot. But for you, that could show up differently. Like, I actually have a friend who she doesn't really see numbers like that, but she was telling me that like she gets dreams. She gets dreams about things, and it's not like she always know. It's not like she's a psychic and she always knows what's going to happen in the future, but she has said to me before that she'll have dreams about things that kind of like nudge her in a certain direction. But I will say it's like noticing the patterns and the signs are so personal and so true to who you are. Again, for me, just like looking at the patterns in my life, I know what those signs are. So I would really encourage you to kind of go back in your life and look at what those patterns are for you, and when they come up, what's happening when you see them, and etc. And I think you'll kind of start to build your little book of this is how I know that like God, the universe, angels, or whoever you believe in is guiding you. So yeah, honestly, I have no idea what I'm going to title this episode. I low-key feel like I was just rambling, but I was just kind of like, you know what, Tiff, just sit down and record. Whatever comes out, comes out. I'm very much in this like ease and flow place in my life, or at least right now in this moment I will say it takes some effort to kind of be in constant ease and flow, which is funny, right? Because you would think with ease and flow it would come very naturally. But I think because I'm someone who is a perfectionist and feels like things should sometimes always be a certain way, it takes a lot of effort to get out of that mindset to just kind of let yourself relax and flow. So I really wanted to try doing that today and just chat with you guys and share what was on my heart. And I would honestly love it if you're watching this YouTube video, if you could comment below if you have noticed patterns in your life, patterns, signs guiding you on a certain path. What do those look like for you? Drop it in the comments. I'd be really curious to hear how it shows up in your life. Because again, I know that we're all different. And if you're listening to this podcast on your favorite podcast app, feel free to shoot me a DM. I would really, really love to hear from you guys. But that's pretty much all for me for today. I feel like this is going to be a shorter shorter episode, but really just wanted to get on here and share. So thanks as always for tuning in. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for being a real one. That's all for me, guys. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.